It's a day like any other. You feed the cats, then yourself, and inhale a coffee before heading out the door into the brisk black winter morning. The monotonous journey from your bed to work has occurred so many times that it almost happens automatically. Every step of this process is pushed more by muscle memory than any sort of conscious thought, and as such, you wouldn't normally form any sort of long-lasting memories from this particular hour of your day. After enough time, every morning like this will eventually be forgotten, with your brain treating the memory like a duplicate file that's taking up unnecessary room in your head. You'll know exactly how it happened, but you won't actually remember it. Today though, something is different. It starts as a nagging feeling, some unnameable anxiety gently poking you, but that poke grows to a push and then a shove. Something is off. It quickly becomes apparent what's wrong as you pull out of your neighborhood and onto the main road. There's no traffic. The normally busy morning rush hour today is anything but. Moreover, there's no pedestrians, and all the shops are closed. It's like everybody forgot to wake up this morning. You try to come up with an explanation in your head. Maybe it's a holiday that you didn't know about, or the date is wrong on your phone. But you know you're grasping at straws, and the more you try to rationalize it, the more reality sets in. It becomes a little too much. You pull over into a shopping center. Surely there must be somebody around, right? But there's not. It terrifies you that you can't explain it, but you are completely and utterly alone. This is the premise of a YouTube channel that slipped under the radar, surprisingly so considering its extraordinary nature. It's called Everything Empty, Always Alone. It follows a man named Corey who claims to have intermittently visited a backrooms-esque alternate reality, one that completely mirrors our own but is utterly devoid of people, with normally busy spots being reduced to eerily still and silent liminal spaces. It's not a very unique idea. These empty alternate reality content creators were a dime a dozen during the COVID years, but this one is different. For one thing, all of Corey's videos were filmed in the last year or so, not during any sort of mass quarantine that left usually crowded places looking empty. And on top of that, his videos are convincing, surprisingly so. He visits places that just shouldn't ever be empty, but is somehow able to capture them as if they've been totally abandoned. It's hard to simply write this off as yet another internet hoax. While we are going to end up forming a couple theories, there are still aspects to this channel that I simply don't have an explanation for. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to Everything Empty, Always Alone. Before we get to that though, there's something else we gotta talk about. Something that's possibly even more unsettling. You already know what it's gonna be. Data brokers. They're making a ton of money by gathering up and selling pieces of your private personal information that you probably didn't expect them to have. Maybe you signed up for a sketchy website 10 years ago, or some online service you use experienced a data breach. There are many ways these sketchy brokers can get their hands on your data. Check this out. This is a data broker report for one person. It almost looks like something you would get if you hired a private investigator to spy on someone. We've got address history, possible neighbors, relatives, and associates. It's a little concerning to think there are random entities out there profiting by selling this information to God knows who. Data brokers are betting on you not doing anything. But personally, I'm not worried, because I've got Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura protects your privacy by identifying data brokers selling your info. They take care of the hard part, automatically removing your info from these sites and making sure it never resurfaces. Aura isn't the only service of its kind, but nobody offers quite as much for the price as Aura. You'll get alerts if your personal info is found in the dark web, a secure VPN, antivirus, and even a password manager. Aura even reaches outside the internet as well, providing real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking, and even $5 million in identity theft insurance protection. It's genuinely a great deal for what you're paying. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. If you use my link aura.com/feral, you'll get 14 days for free, which is enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal info from data broker sites. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. I originally came across this channel through this video, titled 100% Empty Theme Park in a Parallel Universe. The video starts with Corey sitting in his car. He tells us we're going to be traveling to the Washington state location of the Great Wolf Lodge, a popular chain of indoor water park resorts in the USA.
The Great Wolf Lodge here in Washington is about approximately a half a mile. Let's go. Here we go. About a half a mile from here.
As he's driving, Corey explains that he's planning to enter a different dimension and will show us a completely empty version of the theme park. But first, he's gonna give us a small tour of it in this reality to show us how busy it normally is. He also tells us that he's not planning to reveal his true nature to the staff at the resort, as he doesn't want to freak them out. It's here you'll notice that our man has a tendency to ramble and sometimes comes off as a little aggravated.
I've never been there. I'm gonna just roll right up in there. I don't want to freak these people out and scare them. So I'm not gonna tell them who I am, what I am, who I am, what I am, who I am, what I am, who I am, or what I am. I'm not gonna tell them who I am or what the fuck I am. I'm gonna just tell them I'm a travel vlog. I'm gonna just say I'm a travel vlog. I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna fucking lie, okay?
Once he gets to the resort, he makes a point of showing us just how packed it is. And indeed, he ends up having to leave his car running in the drop-off area as the parking lot is completely full. Before going inside, he walks around the lot and rambles to the camera for a few minutes, repeatedly pointing out that the resort is open 24/7 and is very busy at all times of the day, and also how his detractors are going to be surprised at what he's about to pull off.
7 or 8, whatever, 9-story hotel, so slam packed, open, again, 20. You could, all this stuff is, everybody could do their fucking diligence, do your research. Read about every location is open 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year. There is no closing, they don't close. I'll go to a fucking theme park and prove it to you. Fucking skeptic piece of shit. To all you believers and loyal subscribers, shout out to you, what's up? For all the fucking scumbag haters and skeptics. People always complain that I talk, I'm sick of it. I am a fucking interdimensional time traveler. There's not a goddamn fucking thing you can do about it. None of you. Not a single fucking one of you. And of course the fucking CIA knows about me. So anyways, we're gonna go in the building now. You saw the parking lot. It is so packed that there's cars literally every direction.
He eventually drifts inside and shows us a bustling resort, mentioning that he'll be interviewing some of the staff, the first of which being a member of the security team who's monitoring the entrance to the pool.
We'll talk to this gentleman here real quick. Hi sir, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm a travel vlogger doing the place. So this place, it looks packed. Is it 24/7?
90% occupancy year round.
90% occupancy year round? I don't want to go in there because it's probably, you know, I don't have to have a wristband.
It's 90 degrees in there.
Is it really 90 degrees? Is there any way to follow you in just to get one little shot in there? Is that cool? Just for.
You can get it from the downstairs window.
Okay.
Walk to the store, look over, and then.
Yeah, I'll just come right in. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, Todd was very nice to let me come in. Woo! Oh yeah, it is hot. Oh my God. It is like 90 degrees. Look at this place, guys. Holy smokes.
He shows us more of the resort, always pointing out how busy each corner of it is. He finds another staff member and asks if they could connect him with the head of security, which she does.
Just got a couple questions. Obviously, you guys saw inside of the Great Wolf Lodge here. Part of what I want to do is prove that this place is one of the safest theme parks out there. Yeah. So I'm sure there's security cameras, surveillance everywhere, probably like a Vegas casino. Yeah. I saw a bunch of those. You guys patrolled a lot and stuff like that too?
Yep, all the time, all day, every day.
The gentleman told me inside that it was open 24/7, basically 365, and it's always packed. Even weekdays, Monday through Friday.
Oh yeah.
Holidays, Christmas, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Corey eventually tells the head of security that there's a guy out there who's claiming to be an interdimensional time traveler and that he's going to be recording a completely empty version of the park in a parallel universe.
There's a guy who's claiming to be, this is going to sound a little weird, but it's fun. I'm doing a video story on this. Yeah. Who's claiming to be an interdimensional time traveler. So I'm doing a video tracking this gentleman, if you will. Okay. It says he can appear in multiple theme parks throughout the country and be the only person there. So the gentleman's claiming that he can walk all throughout the pool area and be the only person there and like actually interact with the environment, like moving the water around and walking up the water slides and doing all these. Is that a pretty kind of crazy?
That's pretty wild.
Okay, yeah. And the likelihood of that happening, it would be 0%, 100%, or 0%. Yeah. This guy's claiming to put this video out, and it's great. I hope this is something that you'll watch and it'll find you, put it that way. Well, that's it, man. I won't keep you. I really appreciate your time, brother.
He ends this section of the video by explaining the purpose of this long intro.
I was gonna do like maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10 minutes of intro and commentary and interviews and what have you, but so many of you guys always say, hey, bold claims require bold evidence. Dude, it will get no better. It will never, ever on earth under any circumstance get better than this.
He drives around for a while and rambles to the camera more, often aggressively repeating himself. He also gives us a more technical explanation as to what's about to happen.
Well, I will be transferring to a different dimension. PDL, parallel dimension location. a parallel dimension location called A1002-2015Z. I'm gonna go in that building. I'm gonna go in the theme park for about 30-40 minutes. I will be with a non-NHI, non-human intelligence named Wind, an alien. He will be shadowing me, following me. You will not see him. You will not be able to visually detect him on camera. I will keep him out of camera. I have done nothing yet, and I'm literally, it's like Babe Ruth calling out the home run before it happens. I haven't even done this yet, now I'm gonna go do it. All those non-ending spiral water slides, which have kids and water running through them constantly at a high speed. I'm gonna walk up and around that whole environment. I'm gonna interact with everything. I'm gonna walk in the water slides, which are packed right now with water and kids. And by the way, there's never a day where it's not.
The intro of this theme park video not only showed us how improbable the idea of someone walking through an empty Great Wolf Lodge may be, but it also served to clarify Corey's intentions a little. This is not a fictional work or someone trying to create a piece of art. This is somebody who genuinely believes in what they're doing. Corey displays every hallmark of a conspiracy theorist, most prominently with his excessive rambling. I actually cut the vast majority of that intro out. It may have only lasted a couple minutes in my video, but in Corey's, that whole intro section was an hour long. In between the rambling, he would intersplice different TV and podcast clips of pundits discussing interdimensional time traveling, and the whole thing is actually pretty hard to make sense of and doesn't really have a coherent structure outside the Great Wolf Lodge tour. Regardless though, whatever eccentricity Corey may exude to his viewers is greatly overshadowed by the extraordinary nature of what he's about to show us. In the middle of one of his rambles, Corey abruptly cuts back to the Great Wolf Lodge. This time though, there's nobody there. He walks through the exact same spots he just showed us, but now all the people are gone. Every store, every arcade, every waiting area is completely empty. You might assume he just came back at night, but no, as you can clearly see bright sunlight pouring in through all the windows. Even the front desks are empty, which often have workers present at all times of the day in many hotels. As he's showing us these surreal scenes, he includes more rambling in the form of a voiceover.
I am the villain hero. I'm the hero for the believers and the villain for the disbelievers and the naysayers and the cynics and the haters.
He eventually gets to the pool area, which is also totally empty. He walks around and dips his hands into the water. He then climbs into a water slide and starts walking down the long plastic tube. This whole thing may have started with an eccentric seemingly walking us through his esoteric delusions, but he was telling the truth. He is indeed inside what appears to be a recently abandoned Great Wolf Lodge, one that's empty enough for him to do things he would obviously never be allowed to do, like walking down the entire length of a water slide while vlogging. It's surreal to watch.
And literally do all kinds of things. Borderline magic in this parallel universe. There should be water running through here right now. Actually, there was 15 minutes ago, but we shut that off and now we're in here walking. It is what it is. It is what it is.
He eventually gets to the end of the slide, walks out of it, and continues wandering the giant liminal space that used to be Great Wolf Lodge. He rambles for a while longer and then abruptly ends the 2-hour-long video. At the beginning of this video, I thought I was watching your everyday run-of-the-mill conspiracy theory slop, but by the end of it, my ears were perked up. I decided to investigate the channel more. It was created in 2013, but the oldest video is from October 2024, which was 7 months before the Great Wolf Lodge video. This one was filmed in a parking lot in the middle of the night, and you can barely make out Corey in the frame, who spends the video's 17-minute runtime explaining the finer details of his odd situation. He was apparently introduced to interdimensional time travel after an incident earlier that year, when he was involuntarily thrust into a dimension identical to Earth in every way, except without people. This was done to him by a non-human entity known as Wind, who has the power to transport himself and others to different dimensions. Whenever Corey travels to this mimic universe, he's doing it through this Wind figure. He mentions that he's planning to travel to Denver to explore and film the backrooms version of it, which he eventually uploaded to his YouTube channel a month later in November 2024. In this one, he cuts right to the chase and immediately shows us the abandoned streets of downtown Denver. Again, it's during the day and there's nobody here. He mentions that in this alternate reality, you'll often see running cars parked on the side of the road that have no people in them. You may assume that this was filmed during the pandemic, but he eventually pans to a big screen that displays the year 2024. The video shows us more empty streets with a voiceover rambling on for an hour until it abruptly ends. Now, if he was actually in a parallel universe that was exactly the same but without any people, wouldn't you expect him to try taking something from one of the fake stores? Well, he didn't do that in this video, but that's exactly what he does in the next one, which was uploaded a month later in December. This one specifically focuses on stores, and Corey was prompted to make it after receiving comments from viewers asking him to steal things off the shelves of the shops he was exploring in the Mimic universe. Obviously, it would be pretty easy to edit a video of yourself buying something from a store to make it look like you actually stole it, but Corey instead presents us with a fully uncut clip of him walking into a store, taking a soda from the fridge, and walking out with it, with nobody behind the counter there to stop him. He eventually gets to his car and starts driving away, again without any cuts. He spends the rest of the video giving us tours of various empty grocery stores. I would say this is the least convincing video on this channel. Considering this was filmed at night, he could have just gone to any 24-hour grocery store at like 4 AM, which if you've ever done before, you would know they tend to be pretty empty at that time. The shoplifting part though, that's a little harder to explain. Obviously, he could have just gone and filmed himself stealing from a gas station and posted it publicly to the internet, which I guess you'd have to give it to the guy. That's some dedication to your craft. It's here where we have to put on our detective hats. As fun as it is to play along, I do obviously think this is made up, and I'm gonna tell you the reasons why. Starting with the Denver video, you'll notice that while it is indeed filmed during the day, the lighting happens to be very sharp. The sun appears to be shining just over the horizon. While Corey tells us that he's filming this around 8 in the morning, I would wager that it's actually much earlier, likely right after the sun rose. Considering that's early and he's walking around in a t-shirt, you could surmise that he likely recorded this video during the summer, which judging on the average sunrise times in Colorado, could mean that this whole video was taken as early as 5:30 AM. It wouldn't be terribly hard to get an hour of empty city footage if you walked around downtown Denver before 6 AM on a weekend, and it would be even easier if you were to film it over a few days. It's still impressively put together, but I think it's perfectly doable to film this in the real world. Things get a little harder to explain when we get back to the Great Wolf Lodge video. Corey admittedly did a very good job of communicating just how improbable it would be for him to be alone in this Great Wolf Lodge, and he not only walked around the lobby, he was going places he wouldn't be able to go if there were any workers present. He couldn't have gone in the middle of the night because it's very clearly bright outside while he's filming. Even if he did it right after the crack of dawn like in the Denver video, there would still be some workers around in the morning, at least one person behind the front desk and some cleaning staff, enough people to prevent him from wandering around the pool area filming everything and climbing up and walking down the water slide. How did he do this? There actually is a logical explanation. You see, the Washington Great Wolf Lodge was undergoing a massive renovation in mid-2024, which concluded in July, only about a month after Corey's video was uploaded. He very well could have planned his project around this, visiting the resort while it was still operating to show off how busy it was and to interview staff, and then coming back while it was closed for renovation. I mentioned earlier that there were still things I can't explain about this channel, and there are. I have no idea how Corey managed to get unlimited access to a closed Great Wolf Lodge. I don't see how he could have convinced some worker there to let him wander around for an hour doing things like walking down water slides. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm also not sure if he actually filmed this one early in the morning. You'll notice when he's in the pool area that there's a giant clock which says it's around 4, but the sun is clearly out. There's no point in the year in Washington state where the sun rises by 4 AM, which means that this was likely filmed in the afternoon, and that makes it even stranger that there isn't anyone to stop Corey from wandering around this theme park. I do obviously think that this channel is the work of a very dedicated person trying to present us with some false alternate universe, but I unfortunately cannot explain everything here, which leaves this channel as an obscure YouTube mystery. Fake or not, Everything Empty Always Alone is probably the most compelling thing I've seen in years coming out of the conspiracy theory niche on YouTube. We've talked about this a few times in the past. YouTube used to have a thriving community revolving around esoteric conspiracy theories. Nowadays, it's much smaller than it used to be, with a lot of the people who are involved with it migrating to Rumble and talking about more boring stuff like American politics. Around 15 years ago though, conspiracy theory YouTubers would be uploading videos about aliens, the paranormal, lizard people, hidden planets. It used to be a lot bigger and more out there than it is now. Our next topic happens to be one such channel from this time period, one that stands out because of its disturbing nature. The channel is called NASA Gym 108, and the description seems to be written from the viewpoint of a lawyer, stating that the channel contains a series of videos that their client requested to be released after his death. In the first video from July 2008, things start off much like other early YouTube conspiracy theory videos. Accompanied by a slideshow of random pictures of Mars and aliens, Jim tells us that he worked as an aeronautical research engineer for NASA between the years of 1989 and 2004. He's recently been diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer and is releasing these videos after his death to show the world information that NASA has been concealing. He goes on to tell us that there's a race of subterranean aliens living on Mars that humans refer to as the Greys. A telepathic race of humanoid creatures who've developed a sort of parasitic and secretive relationship with mankind. In his next video, Jim gives us a few more details about this alien race. They supposedly are not completely physical beings, as they have the ability to transmute themselves into other states of matter in a way we don't really understand scientifically. They can apparently travel through sound, and can even latch on to people much in the way a demon or a spirit can, as described in most forms of human mythology. It's likely these aliens are responsible for the idea of demonic possession in all human culture. He also includes an audio clip to show us how these beings sound once they've transmuted into this intangible form. This is the gist of the first few videos on this channel. Jim builds up a lore around this mysterious group of alien beings and muses on his impending death. Things start to change a little though, as time goes on. The videos start to become more dynamic and surreal, with the Google image photos of Mars and aliens being replaced by these bizarre animations. In this video, Jim claims to show us a video and audio sequence that can summon a being known as a Neth into your home just by watching it. The entity acts like a spirit. You can't see or touch it, but it can manipulate physical objects in your environment. It will remain in your home for a couple hours before it returns to wherever it came from. After this, things really go off the deep end. This was the last of the original run of NASA Gym videos. There are two after it though, one uploaded in 2011 that claims to show the viewer an alien tuning fork. The last one was uploaded in 2016 and it merely shows an alarm clock and nothing else. This is definitely a strange case. A seemingly mundane conspiracy theory YouTuber that slowly became more and more disturbing with each video he uploaded. Despite the channel itself being inactive for almost 10 years without any official explanation as to its purpose, internet sleuths would eventually solve this mystery. There's one video I haven't shown you. It's called Dying NASA Scientist on the Alien Origin of Materialism.
Kids, it's me, Little Hobo, and boy do I got a special little treat for you today. Shut up.
The video is obviously intended to be as weird as possible, but the important detail here is the puppet. He calls himself the Little Hobo. If we search Little Hobo Puppet on Google, we'll find a comedian known as Duncan Trussell, who regularly performs with a similar looking puppet that has the same name. It's not the same physical puppet, but if we look deeper to try to find an older picture, like this one from 2007, you'll notice that it's the exact one in the Dying NASA Scientist YouTube channel. This was a project created by Duncan Trussell. Although Trussell does frequently use ridiculous conspiracy theories as inspiration for his comedy, the only time he's ever commented on NASA Gym, at least that I could find, was in an October 2025 episode of his podcast when a viewer directly asks him about it.
NASA Gym, never heard of him.
Considering Duncan Trussell has frequently mocked this subset of society, I feel like it is believable they set up this NASA Gym project with the intention of having a run-of-the-mill conspiracy channel. one that got more and more absurd with each upload, which inadvertently resulted in a pretty early and interesting work of internet horror fiction. This next mystery comes from the same era of YouTube, but it's much harder to merely write off as a work of fiction. Sometimes when you load your YouTube homepage, you'll get these weird old videos in your recommendations that don't quite fit in with the others. You know what I mean. These old short clips that might have a vaguely interesting title or thumbnail, you click on them and the actual content of the video is nothing special, with the comments being filled with people saying, "Who's here in current year?" I got one of these videos on my YouTube homepage recently, except this one was a little different. It had the title, "My Dead Great-Grandma's Coffin in My Own Backyard." The video is communicated to the viewer in American Sign Language, but there are subtitles underneath. The man tells us that behind him, under this blue tarp, is a real casket, one that apparently contains the body of his long-dead great-grandmother. He says the cemetery she was originally buried in was compromised due to corruption, and instead of moving her to a different graveyard, he decided to keep her coffin in his own backyard. We then flash back to 2 years prior, which would place us in 2008 considering this upload is from 2010. Again, we hear essentially the same story. This guy is keeping his great-grandmother's casket in his backyard because of the poor upkeep of the cemetery she was originally buried in. He then tells us that he wants to open the coffin up to see what she looks like after years of decay. And well, he definitely delivers on that promise. We get a slow walk around the casket until he finally opens it up. Inside is the greatly decayed body of a woman dressed in a white gown. The skin is black and taut and almost looks mummified. Her hair is splayed out wildly beneath her head, which looks to be halfway between a bear skull and a normal living head. If it's not disturbing enough already, the narrator eventually puts the camera off to the side, bends down, and kisses the decayed corpse several times. He ends the video by asking the audience to think positively. There's no other suitable place he can bury his dead great-grandma. It would simply cost too much money. The best place for her right now is in her great-grandson's backyard. This video is definitely something. The vague explanations written in stilted English combined with a very real-looking corpse make for a genuinely disturbing piece of media, which no doubt has led to it accumulating more than 6.5 million views in the 15 years it's been on YouTube. It was uploaded by a channel called DJ Def Joey, and the description asks the viewer to
keep it quiet and be considerately, and let the others think about it. Is that against the law to keep the coffin with the dead body in your own yard?
Well, yeah, actually it is very much against the law to do this in California, where Joey filmed this particular video, which is not the only one that shows off his great-grandmother's corpse. A year prior in 2009, he made another video with a different intro, but showing the exact same footage of the casket, the body, and of course Joey kissing the corpse. A year after the viral 2010 upload, Joey would essentially re-upload the same video for a third time, this one having yet another intro slapped onto it. So we basically get Joey explaining the same story 3 times in a row in this rendition before we're shown the same corpse footage. In 2014, he would upload the footage for a 4th time. In this version though, he would remove all the intros he had accumulated over the years, opting instead to present the raw, unedited corpse kissing footage, which is just under a minute long. On a surface glance, this appears to be the work of a very disturbed person, an eccentric individual whose range of topics he covers on his channel is held by no bounds.
Hello, all vloggers. Should I put my female dog Kibble to sleep? Health issue. How often do you have bowel movement? Is cyberbullying necessary? Beautiful underwater birth. Very graphic.
Most of Joey's videos are him talking in sign language to the camera without subtitles, which makes it a little hard to watch if you don't understand ASL. He does seem to have an interest in the dead though. He has a 3-part series where he explores a supposedly haunted mausoleum, and another one where he explores an abandoned hospital which is also apparently haunted. Neither of these involve any sort of special effects or horror movie props, which brings us to the important question. Is this corpse real? In early 2025, a Redditor would post that exact question to the Ask Funeral Directors subreddit. The top comment here provides information that would both support and dissuade the validity of this clip. They say that it is indeed possible that a body could become mummified with the design of that particular casket under the right environmental conditions. But they also say that this coffin is not only in much too good shape to have been buried for several years, but also that the casket very much looks like a modern one that you could buy today. We're not going to find any answers here on Reddit. To get any further insight into this case, we're going to have to dig a little deeper ourselves. If you look hard enough, you'll be able to track down Joey's Facebook, which I'm obviously not going to show you how to find. It's here we learn that Joey once worked for a wax museum molding human body parts. He's also posted about his great-grandmother here as well, but hasn't really given any further insight as to whether or not it's a real body. He's also apparently posted several other pictures of very real corpses to his profile. I don't think I can give a definitive judgment here to say whether or not this is real. I think it is absolutely possible that this could just be a model that Joey made, considering he does have experience making models for a wax museum. And on top of that, I think this likely wouldn't be on YouTube if it actually was a real corpse. Then again, actual funeral home workers and morticians seem to be undecided as to whether or not this is a real dead body. And as far as I can tell, Joey has never posted about making models of human bodies anywhere publicly. You would assume that if he went to the trouble of broadcasting every other detail of his life, that you would see some stuff somewhere about making wax models. He mostly seems to be interested in photography and urban exploration. He also seems to have a fascination with death and corpses in general. If he's posting pictures of other dead bodies, why wouldn't he post a video of his great-grandmother's corpse? I can't say whether or not this is real, but I would love to hear what you guys think. I would also love to hear what you think of this next topic, which happens to be another unsolved mystery. One that's much more recent. The video starts with a view of a bike across the street from some grand neoclassical building. A line of text appears on the screen.
You never know what worse luck your bad luck has saved you from.
This might not make any sense, but things become clear when you read the title of this video.
Biking across 5 countries to evade a felony charge.
Our guy appears to be in Bucharest, judging by the fact that this is a Romanian parliament building. He says he needs to figure out how to exit the city. He shows us his bike, which is packed to the brim. He then goes to a nearby market and stocks up on supplies. After this, he grabs some dinner from a sandwich shop and lets us know that he apparently hasn't eaten for days. He then starts biking around and finds an abandoned building that he can sleep in. The next morning, he sets off early and finally leaves Bucharest, with the busy city streets slowly transforming into countryside. He stops for a minute to hang out with some locals outside a village shop while having a snack and a drink, and then sets back out. But the sun starts to hang low in the sky, and he once again needs to find somewhere to spend the night. He also tells us that the heat is becoming unbearable, and water is becoming increasingly difficult to come across the further he gets out into the country. He considers staying at a hostel, but deems it too risky, and opts instead to set up camp beside a small swamp next to the main road. Thus marks the end of the second day on the run, and the end of the first video on this channel, which is called Cryptlease. The second video will come out a month later, and it would document day 3. Our man packs up and gets back on the road. He comes across a town and decides to stock back up on supplies. We then skip ahead a few hours and our convict is becoming delirious with the overbearing heat, but is planning to cool off in a nearby lake. Once he gets to it though, he decides the water is too dirty to take a dip, so he trudges on. His lack of drinking water is becoming more of a problem as time goes on. Opportunities to refill his stocks are few and far between, and he can only carry so much on his bike. He gets to another town and is able to finally refill his water, but now he has to be concerned about being recognized by the police. He eats a fast dinner and once again looks for a camping spot outside town, which ends up being in a secluded field by a river, where he's finally able to wash himself and cool off before going to sleep and ending the video. This is the last activity on this channel. There's been no updates for the last 3 months now. Both of these uploads flew well under the radar, with only the first one cracking over 1,000 views. Outside the videos themselves, there's basically no information about this situation anywhere on the internet. You really feel like you're stumbling onto a truly unseen mystery when you watch this channel for the first time. It makes you wonder, what happened to this guy? Did he get caught by the authorities? Did he decide that uploading his movements publicly to the internet was a bad idea? Was this whole thing a hoax? I'm not sure we're ever going to find out unless we get some sort of update straight from the source. But I also think this being left as an incredibly obscure unsolved mystery is also kind of neat. When it comes to mysteries on YouTube, there's two different categories. The first being videos and channels that are unexplainable in some way, mysteries that focus around the content itself. Everything we've talked about so far today fits into that category. But now we're going to switch over to the second one, mysteries that revolve around the platform of YouTube, glitches in the recommendation system and the algorithm. YouTube functions almost solely on these huge automated systems, and sometimes they fail to work in the right way, exposing content to viewers in unnatural ways. I covered this at length in a video I did last year. The YouTube algorithm is a very complicated system relying on neural networks that tries to predict what sort of content a viewer is most likely to enjoy. It uses many different pieces of data to figure that out, like the previous videos you clicked on and how long you watched each one for. The algorithm generally works very well, but just like in any giant automated system, sometimes there's glitches. The most famous of these anomalies was the full stop punctuation incident that occurred a few years ago. When typing in a period character and nothing else into the search bar, users would only be shown videos with the title, full stop punctuation. These uploads all had massive amounts of views and often depicted disturbing content. After word began to spread around about this, users would intentionally start uploading their own videos with the full stop punctuation title, trying to cash in on the algorithm failure, and in the process, creating an unnatural niche on YouTube that only came about because of a glitch. While we already went over many prominent examples in my video on the topic, we didn't talk about everything. There have been some other algorithm anomalies that have occurred in the last year, some of which are much stranger than anything I covered in my original video. Let me introduce you to Jim Perkanik. In his 9 years on YouTube, he's only put out a single video, but also somehow has more than 40,000 subscribers. That's a little weird, he doesn't even have a profile picture. How did he get such a large audience? In the olden days of YouTube, this might not be terribly unusual. There are many borderline anonymous accounts that would just upload a famous song or an SNL skit to their channel, which would get like 1 million views and subsequently earn them a few thousand subscribers despite not having any original content. This is not the case with Jim Perkanik, and his video didn't get 1 million views, it didn't get 10 million views either. No, it got 166 million views. This must be a really interesting and iconic original piece of content to garner such a massive amount of attention, right? Well, let's take a look for ourselves. I didn't mute this, it's completely silent. In this clip, we can see an animated tree sprouting from the ground and blossoming. It might look like AI, but it's not considering this was uploaded in 2016. After the tree is fully grown, it sways a bit in the wind and then the clip ends, after a whopping 20-second runtime. This upload is titled, Video Background Tree Glowing at Sunrise Object in the Middle, credit card number, HD 1080 video. There's no description, and once again, it somehow has 166 million views. Maybe we can learn a bit more from the comments section. The top one asks if other users all followed the random ad. The next comment also mentions that they got here because of an ad, and the next one as well. This only brings up more questions. Why would anybody spend money to advertise this? There's no product being pushed or any call to action. It's just a 20-second animation of a tree with no further context or information. According to this article, which outlines how much YouTube ads cost, reaching 100,000 views solely via ads would cost between $1,000 and $3,000. That means if all these views came from YouTube ad spots, somebody must have spent between $1.6 and $5 million to accumulate these views, all for an ad that leads nowhere. This doesn't make any sense. There must be more to this. To make this situation even weirder, most of these views seem to be very recent. There's a post on the Internet Mystery subreddit from 4 months ago that discusses this video, and in the screenshot OP provides for us, the video only has 40 million views, which means it got 120 million just in the last few months. A common theory in this thread is that this clip could be being used as a stock video for some purpose, like a background for a website or a demo video being played on TVs in a store. It's not a bad explanation, but it's likely not true. If we check Jim Percani's Social Blade, we can further narrow down almost all these views to a single week. It would be highly improbable to accumulate such a ludicrously large amount of views so quickly by merely having TVs and Best Buy playing this low quality video on loop. Maybe we can learn something by looking more into the person who put this video up in the first place. If we search Jim Percani on Google, we'll find a LinkedIn profile with the same name, which describes him as an entrepreneurial executive who's founded several organizations that revolve around solving environmental problems. If we explore the websites for these companies Jim is involved with, you'll quickly notice a common trend: photos and videos of nature. While I can't find the exact tree video anywhere, there's still a lot of very similar looking imagery plastered all over these websites. It wouldn't be terribly far-fetched to assume that this is the same Jim Percani who owns the YouTube channel. If we do an image back search on a frame from the tree video, we can learn that it's actually a stock video distributed by Adobe. We can find many instances of it being used elsewhere on the internet, like in this Panasonic TV ad and also this green tax tracker page on EY's website. So this is what we can surmise so far. Jim, a serial entrepreneur involved primarily in environmental organizations, uploaded a stock video to his channel in 2016. Not much happened with it until September 29, 2025, when it suddenly got 160 million views in 1 week. After that, the views stopped. Many people report being served this video as a blank ad that had no call to action, but we don't know for sure if that's where all the views came from. In my mind, there are 3 possibilities that could explain this. The first being that Jim really did spend upwards of $1 million in 1 week to advertise this random stock video. I have no clue why he or anyone else would do that, maybe it was some last-ditch effort to use up any remaining advertising funds to avoid having a surplus at the end of a fiscal year, but why not at least put in a link or even just a title to explain to the viewer what's being advertised? The second possibility is that these views were botted. Again, I would have no idea the purpose of wanting to have bots watch a video so many times, but it still is a possibility. It would also explain why there are less than 2,000 comments on a video with more than 100 million views, but that could also be explained by the third theory, which is that this video could have been embedded in a very high traffic spot somewhere on the internet. For April Fool's Day 2024, Discord jokingly announced a loot box feature. They would advertise it via an embedded video that would autoplay in the Discord app whenever a user opened it. The short clip was in reality being served on YouTube though, with literally every single Discord user watching this video multiple times when opening the app that day. The YouTube upload ended up getting more than 1 billion views in just 24 hours. It is possible that this video was embedded to some page in a similar fashion, but you would expect there to be some history of that recorded somewhere if this really was such a high traffic area of the internet. 166 million views in 1 week is a significant amount, yet there's no evidence that this video was actually embedded anywhere. As such, I'm leaning towards my first theory as being the most plausible in my mind. Charitable organizations often need to report a certain level of expenses to be able to earn the financial grants they rely on. It's possible one of these environmental organizations were nearing the end of their fiscal year and they needed to dump some money somewhere in order to be able to report the appropriate level of spending to get a certain grant. It's a very odd way to go about that, but that's the explanation that makes the most sense to me. It is still just a theory though. We can't say for sure how or why this specific video got so many views. Maybe it really was all due to some bizarre glitch in the YouTube algorithm, one that served up a 20-second clip of a tree growing in a field to more than 100 million people in just under a week. It's highly unlikely, but still possible. Not every glitch on YouTube centers around the algorithm. Some videos just have something inherently wrong with them, and they end up breaking the platform in some manner. There's actually people who sign up for YouTube specifically with the intention to break it. The glitches these YouTubers take advantage of often end up getting patched pretty quickly, but before that happens, it can be a little strange to see a massive multi-billion-dollar website like YouTube being put in a vulnerable position. Our next channel happens to be one that found a fairly large bug in the machine. If you've been on YouTube at all in the last couple weeks, you may have gotten a very strange video in your recommended feed. It's one that doesn't have a thumbnail or a title, and it happens to be very long. How long, you might ask? 1.2 million hours, or in other words, 145 years. The video only shows a black screen and nothing else for its entire runtime, and in fact, the YouTube player itself seemingly can't support scrubbing through the whole video. It can only do a maximum of 12 hours. The description is just a bunch of nonsense characters. at least on the surface. According to this commenter, it's apparently written in intentionally broken UTF-8 to CB1252 encoding. When decoded, we get back an Arabic phrase. When translated to English, it reads,
"Come meet me in hell."
This video has gotten a lot of views, almost 2.4 million. The channel it belongs to also has more than 130,000 subscribers, an immense amount considering they've only put up 3 videos. Many of these subs seem to be incredibly recent too. According to this Reddit comment, they had less than 100,000 subs just 15 hours ago, which means he's getting 2,000 subscribers an hour. The comments on this video don't really provide a whole lot of insight into this. Most people are just saying how they got this absurdly long video presented to them in their recommended feed. Maybe checking out the channel might fill in the blanks here. Speaking of blanks, there actually isn't any channel name at all. We have to click on the profile picture to get to this guy's page. Once we get there, we can find out a little more info by clicking on the channel description. While the display name is blank, this guy's user ID is ShinyWR, and according to YouTube, he's apparently based in North Korea. Oddly enough, he has an Internet Archive link here, which is titled Billion Hours. I can't actually get this to load anything on the Wayback Machine, but the URL does appear to be live. It's a YouTube playlist called 5 Trillion Hours in One Playlist. He's not kidding, there appears to be 5,000 blank videos in this playlist that are each a billion hours long. None of them have any views. While it may initially seem like these are all separate uploads, they actually just seem to be duplicate listings of the same video. When clicking on any of them, you're brought to a waiting page for a video premiere. It says it's scheduled to start January 10th, despite it being the 12th when I'm writing and recording this. There's a fairly active live chat and comment section, with more than 1,000 people currently sitting on this page with me. If we go back to Shiny's channel page, we can trace his progress of breaking YouTube. His first upload was put up 2 months ago, and it's a blank 300-hour long video. Shiny has also presumably uploaded the world's longest YouTube short, which is a whopping 150 hours long. I don't think there's too much of a mystery here. I don't know how this guy managed to upload such stupidly long videos to YouTube. Maybe he just used some broken video codec that YouTube doesn't fully support, which caused the platform to completely glitch out. I also think the intention here is purely just to do a little trolling, but I am curious how this has gotten so much attention. His most recent video got more than 2 million views in a week. That's an absurd amount for a brand new channel. Obviously, many people would click on a 1 million hour long video just out of curiosity, but if a user clicks on a video and then doesn't watch it, the algorithm is supposed to register that video as clickbait. I almost wonder if the broken metrics of this video have also caused the algorithm to break in some way as well. In any event, I think this is definitely the biggest glitch I think I've ever come across in my 20 years using this platform, and I wonder how much longer it'll survive for. It is kind of interesting to see a video getting so many views because of a clickbaity concept in 2026. Clickbait used to be a big problem on YouTube, but over the years, the algorithm has been tweaked to be able to detect when a video doesn't deliver on the promise that its thumbnail makes. And on top of that, the age of generative AI has made people more inherently skeptical towards overly fantastical images that look too good to be true. It wasn't always like this though. There was a time on YouTube when a large selection of the most viewed videos on the platform had outlandish looking thumbnails that would just simply look ridiculous today. Many of these uploads have tens of millions of views despite proudly displaying thumbnails that have nothing to do with the actual content of the video. For our last topic, we're going to investigate the origins of some of these wild, esoteric-looking thumbnails from this bygone era of YouTube. When you think clickbait, a couple concepts probably come to your mind. Maybe it's the whole "I called X character at 3 AM" or "epic prank gone wrong." There have been creators like Morgs who have built their entire career solely off the backs of their cheap clickbait. Like I said, this is luckily not so much of a problem nowadays with how the YouTube algorithm now rewards watch time, meaning for a video to be successful, it should theoretically have people clicking on the thumbnail and then actually watching the video. If you just click on the video and don't watch it, YouTube will deem that upload as clickbait and it'll get less exposure. I don't really want to talk about the sort of poorly constructed, bright and highly edited clickbait thumbnails you would see on a channel like Morgs. No, there's a different style that comes to my mind when I think of interesting clickbait from 2010's YouTube. Top 10 channels are just something you don't really see much nowadays. They've been replaced, well, by YouTubers like me. What I do is not really that different than what Watch Mojo was doing in the 2010s. We both make videos that compile several different topics together that are united by a common theme. In fact, many other channels in my niche will actually display the number of topics they cover in their video title, meaning the only difference between them and a top 10 channel is the lack of the word top in the title. Another commonality between my niche and top 10 or top 5 channels is the thumbnail style. I and many other creators like me will often pick an interesting frame of the video to use as a thumbnail, often without much editing, relying mainly on the mysterious or bizarre look of the scene to entice viewers to click on it. Top 10 and top 5 channels did something similar, but not quite the same. Instead of choosing a frame from the video, they would just use an image that looks like it could be related to the title, but never actually appears in the video and doesn't really relate to the content in any meaningful way. Without having the restriction of keeping the thumbnail related to the video's content, top 10 channels could run wild with their thumbnails, and they absolutely did. One example I distinctly remember from this era is this one. 10 kids you won't believe actually exist. And the cover for the video shows us a digicam looking photo of a little girl that appears to be half snake and half human. The thumbnail photo actually does appear in the video, which was uploaded by a channel called Top 5 Best, and is currently sitting at a cozy 9 million views, but the image isn't actually talked about at all in the video, only being used as a cheap visual aid when the narrator is talking about how children born with Cyanomelia are sometimes compared to snakes. So where does the thumbnail actually come from then? Turns out it's a viral photo from Thailand that made the rounds in 2014. The girl's name is supposedly Mai Li Fei, and she was apparently diagnosed with something called Jing-Jing's disease, which caused her DNA to mix with the snake's. Obviously this is just a hoax, but that didn't stop it from being shared on Facebook 125,000 times. Another memorable thumbnail is this one. Top 5 Shark Attack Beaches, a video which would apparently be uploaded twice by a channel called World's Biggest, with both versions garnering an insane amount of views. The thumbnail photo depicts a shark leaping out of the water and attacking a man on the beach behind an unaware woman who appears to be the subject of the photo. The older version of the video doesn't contain the thumbnail photo at all, but the more recent one does. The video describes this as a scene that took place in New South Wales in Australia, but doesn't offer any further insight into the specific incident. The narrator only talks about general Australian shark attack facts. When you see the photo closer up, its Dr. Nature becomes much more apparent. This is clearly just a shark that's been slapped into this picture using Photoshop. The origin of this image is actually much more hazy. The earliest upload I could find of this on the live internet is this version from 2008, which comes from a French blog, which mostly served to post interesting images from all over the internet, so I wouldn't assume that this is the origin of the photo. According to Tiny, there's apparently one older version out there, but it's on a page that doesn't exist anymore and was never archived. The bottle of water the girl is holding in this photo is made by Zephyr Hills, a water brand that almost exclusively sells in Florida, which means that's likely where this picture was originally taken. That's about all we can learn about this photo though. I'm guessing this was likely made in the early days of the internet, and that's why it's so hard to track down. Not all these top 10 channels would just merely take an existing viral image though. Sometimes they put a little more effort into it. Like in Top 5 Scariest Things Caught on GoPro Camera, an 8-year-old video originally put up by the channel Nuke's Top 5, which has garnered an insane 16 million views. The photo shows a man running away from an oncoming train. It's definitely eye-catching, but does it actually relate to the content of the video? Well, in this case, it does. Sort of. The picture relates to a section in the video that goes over a clip showing a couple guys running away from an oncoming train.
Run! Run!
It's definitely an interesting video, but you'll notice that the thumbnail visual doesn't actually appear anywhere. That's because the channel did a pretty creative Photoshop job to make this thumbnail. They took one of the guys' faces, a clear frame showing the tunnel they were running out of, and put a train in the background, creating a thumbnail that actually does completely represent what happens in the video. I was expecting this to be clickbait with how clean the image is, but you gotta give it to Nuke's Top 5, they were at least honest with this one. Our last thumbnail is not quite as honest though. It shows a man jumping into what looks like a bottomless metal hole, with the title being 10 Craziest Records of All Time. This was put up by a channel known as Trend Central, and it's gotten a crazy 23 million views, making it the highest viewed upload in this section. I wonder if the video is going to tell us a story behind this interesting thumbnail. It doesn't. In fact, the thumbnail image doesn't show up anywhere in the video and isn't mentioned at all, which I guess is what led to all these commenters complaining. But not to worry, we're gonna get to the bottom of it ourselves. The image shows a glory hole spillway that's a part of the Gibson Dam in Montana. Specifically, the image is a frame taken from this 2017 video. The thumbnail for this video is the exact same image that appears in the clickbait thumbnail, minus the guy jumping who was obviously just photoshopped in. According to Tiny, the earliest version with the guy jumping came from only a month before the Trend Central video was uploaded, so I'm guessing it was just some recent photoshopped image that was making the rounds at the time. I think that's about it for today, guys. I know this was a long one, so thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. If you're still here, maybe consider subscribing so YouTube will show you more videos like this one. If you want to keep up with me off YouTube, I've also got a Twitter that'll link below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great night.